AI-integrated browsers are no longer a theoretical concept. They are here, and they signal a massive, immediate shift in how you navigate the internet. We've synthesized a stack of sources, using tools like NotebookLM that confirm the situation has moved far beyond simple chatbots.
Oh, absolutely.
We are now talking about AI agents ready to actively, take the wheel of your entire browsing session.
And what's truly critical here is understanding the magnitude of this market disruption. AI is quickly evolving from, let's say, a passive tool, something you just feed data into, to an active agent.
Right.
These agents are designed to execute complex tasks autonomously, really interacting with the web on your behalf. This transformation, it creates immediate opportunities for efficiency, sure, but also introduces these profound, complex safety questions we really need to tackle right now.
Exactly. So our mission today is to distill the critical nuggets from our sources. Who is winning this new AI browser war? What is this really quite sinister cyber threat called prompt injection that comes with delegating agency? And finally, what cutting-edge cognitive research is fueling the very foundation of how these machines, think?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's jump straight into the fight for web supremacy, the AI browser war. For a little while, the market was buzzing about alternatives like Perplexity's Comet, challenging Google's dominance.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that conversation has been utterly overtaken by the arrival of OpenAI's new heavyweight, Atlas.
Atlas really represents a foundational pivot. See, users are already turning to models like ChatGPT for research anyway, right? So Atlas just integrates that engine directly right at the center of the UI.
So it basically replaces Google or Bing right there in the browser.
Pretty much. It uses the same underlying structure, Chromium, same as Google Chrome, but the core utility, the main point of it, is radically different.
And that creates a much smarter, stickier experience for the user, I imagine. What's the immediate practical advantage Atlas gives you beyond just having a chat box handy?
Well, it's all about memory and context. That turns the browser from just a tool into like a personal database. Atlas retains the memory of your past searches, pages you visited.
Okay.
So if you've ever spent, 15 minutes trying to find that one useful tab you closed last Tuesday, Atlas can retrieve it much faster, more efficiently than you digging through history. It's an intelligent assistant that knows your context.
It also avoids that friction of copying and pasting text all the time, right?
Precisely. It saves time.
Yeah.
It analyzes the current page you're looking at, give you instant summaries or contextual info. The AI is just there, omnipresent within the session.
So less tab switching, less manual work.
Exactly. Much less frustration.
But hang on. If Atlas is piloting the browser, doesn't that fundamentally break the user's sense of control? We're talking about autonomous driving in the browser with this agent mode.
That's a good way to put it.
ChatGPT can essentially pilot the whole session, opening tabs, clicking links, searching, and crucially, filling out sensitive forms.
Yes, that's the core shift.
You could theoretically ask it to organize an entire vacation, and it would start booking things itself.
That's the idea. And this move, it directly validates the claims Google made during its recent antitrust trial, that the web, particularly Google's search ecosystem, is declining because of chatbots.
Ah, interesting timing.
Right. But now that decline is accelerated, and it's specifically targeting Google's search dominance. When the news about Atlas broke, sources indicate Google's valuation actually saw a noticeable drop.
Wow.
And think about it. OpenAI has this enormous existing user base, 800 million weekly users. They could switch overnight to a browser that streamlines their whole digital life.
That's massive potential. But when you delegate that kind of complex task execution to an agent, you can't assume perfection, surely. The sources warn that initial tests, especially with tricky stuff like organizing a trip, can lead to, unreliable results, delirious prices, or outdated information.
Absolutely. User vigilance is mandatory here. Even with an autonomous browser, it's still early days for these agents.
Okay, let's really unpack this shift in control then. When we delegate browsing, searching, even filling out forms to an AI agent like Atlas, what are the hidden dangers? The big one seems to be this central cyber threat, prompt injection.
Right. Prompt injection, or PI, is essentially instructing the underlying AI model to do something that shouldn't perform an unauthorized action or maybe leak information. A security expert, Adrian Mervet, he distinguishes between two main types.
Okay.
You've got direct injections, which are sort of easier to spot. That's where a user manipulates the chatbot directly through conversation. But the really concerning threat involves indirect injections.
And those are much sneakier, you're saying, because the instructions are hidden somewhere else.
Exactly. hidden in seemingly benign places that the AI will only interpret and execute later on.
Give us that famous example, the Flampolticia one. It sounds almost funny.
It is almost funny, but also kind of terrifying. Someone slipped the French recipe for a custard tart into their LinkedIn profile description. Just text in a bio.
Okay.
So automated job offer bots, AI agents, delegated to scan profiles and generate personalized messages. They picked up this hidden instruction, and they generated official job offers that actually included the recipe ingredients embedded within the text.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just perfectly shows the critical lack of human oversight once you start delegating tasks like that.
Right. So the gut level implication for someone using Atlas to maybe shop online is that the stakes are way higher than a rogue recipe.
Dramatically higher.
Because Atlas can fill out sensitive forms, name, address, maybe even banking info or credit card codes. Those data points become immediate targets for bad actors using hidden prompts.
A perfect, slightly chilling demonstration of this risk is the shadow leak case.
Yeah.
This attack targeted the integration between Gmail and an OpenAI agent called Deep Research.
How did it work?
A cyber criminal sent an email, just a normal-looking email, but it contained hidden malicious code. Later, when the user simply asked the agent to summarize the day's messages, the agent, scanning that email for summary content, found and executed the hidden instruction, completely bypassed the human victim. They had no idea.
Wow. And the risk just scales up exponentially with AI browsers that scan the entire web, doesn't it? A hacker doesn't even need to get into your email.
Exactly. They could just create a fake e-commerce site, maybe advertising a ridiculously cheap iPhone, something tempting that contains a malicious hidden prompt in its code or text.
And when your AI agent, Atlas, scans that site to help you shop.
Bingo. The embedded prompt could potentially hijack the agent. If that agent has access to your stored sensitive data, passwords, credit card info, the prompt could instruct it to leak that banking or personal data during what looks like a normal purchase process. It's like a digital Trojan horse, using the AI's own delegated authority against you.
That sounds genuinely alarming, but our sources do suggest we should probably treat these security flaws as maybe necessary growing pains, for any powerful new software.
That's a fair perspective.
Yeah.
And vulnerabilities like the shadow leak case, they have already been quickly addressed and patched by OpenAI. They're aware of these issues.
So it's not time to panic and abandon the tech.
No, not at all. But the essential advice for you, the user, it really remains the same as with any browser. Practice robust security hygiene. Be really critical about what data you choose to share with Atlas.
Right.
Every piece of information, your browsing history, stored passwords, credit card codes, it just increases your potential risk the moment you grant a third-party agent access to it. More data shared equals more potential exposure.
Okay, that makes sense. So to understand how this shift to agent autonomy is even possible, we need to look at the sort of cognitive building blocks, the deeper science that companies like Meta are using to teach machines how to think. But first, let's quickly touch on Google's strategic response to this browser war. They aren't just sitting back, are they?
No, definitely not. Google realizes that if users are migrating away from traditional search results, they need to own the knowledge ecosystem itself. Their counter move is Google Skills, which they launched strategically October 21st, 2025.
Google Skills. What is that exactly?
It acts as a free, centralized hub. It aggregates over 3,000 courses focusing specifically on AI, data, security, cloud technologies, drawing content from all their major divisions like DeepMind, Google Cloud, Grow with Google.
Okay, so it's a big training push, clearly designed as a defense against people leaving their ecosystem, right? It's not just articles. It offers actual certifications, short formats like AI Boost Bytes for quick learning, and practical labs too.
And critically, they're leaning heavily on gamification. Badges, progress tracking, rewards, trying to keep learners engaged. It's a dual strategy, really.
How so?
Keep the workforce trained up on Google-specific tools and platforms, obviously, but also ensure that anyone learning these foundational AI skills is doing it within the Google ecosystem, trying to counter that decline of their search authority.
Clever. Okay, speaking of foundational skills and cognitive leaps, Meta is pushing a really interesting boundary here, aren't they? What is this VJPay concept, video joint embedding predictive architecture? That's a mouthful. How does it change how AIs learn?
VJPay is genuinely fascinating because it tries to mimic how a human infant learns about the world. It develops an intuition, a sort of feel for the physical world, simply by observing videos.
Without labels, without being told this is a cat jumping.
Exactly. Not through language or millions of labeled examples, but just through observation. Recognizing causality, physical regularity, how things should behave.
How does it work then? It's not just looking at pixels like older video AIs, is it?
No, that's the key difference. It operates at a much higher level of abstraction in what researchers call the latent space.
Latent space, like an internal map.
Kind of. Think of it as the deep internal mathematical map the AI uses to represent and understand the world, rather than just seeing surface-level pixels or individual objects. It learns through self-supervised learning. It builds an internal world model based on predicting what happens next in a video sequence.
And results are pretty staggering, I read, on tests of intuitive physics.
Astonishing, really. It achieved a near-perfect score, 98%, on the InFES benchmark. That's a test specifically designed to measure an AI's intuitive grasp of physics, how objects move, interact, fall.
And other models.
They scored much lower, closer to 55%. VJPay seems to genuinely grasp, in some way, how objects ought to behave according to physics.
How does it show that grasp?
Well, when a physical law is violated in a video, let's say an object suddenly vanishes into thin air, which shouldn't happen, VJPay registers a prediction error. That prediction error is essentially the mathematical equivalent of surprise. It detects the anomaly because the observed world has disobeyed the logic embedded in its internal world model.
Okay, that's impressive. But the sources are quick to caution us this doesn't mean consciousness, right? Despite this incredible world modeling ability.
Right. VJPay suffers from extremely limited memory. Researchers actually compare it to a goldfish in terms of recall. And crucially, it lacks metacognition.
Metacognition, knowing what you know.
Or more importantly, knowing what you don't know. VJPay can make predictions based on its model, but it doesn't know how reliable those predictions are. It can't judge its own certainty.
So the big takeaway is what? It models the world really well.
It models the physical world incredibly well, mimicking a key part of how understanding might emerge, but it learns without ever achieving genuine understanding or possessing anything like a conscience. It sees the world, but it has no concept of itself within that world.
Okay. So we've covered quite a bit here. Everything from AI agents actively piloting our digital lives with Atlas, to the market wars that ignited, the security risks like prompt injection, and finally these cutting-edge systems like VJPay learning physics from videos.
Yeah, the unifying theme really is this rapid and accelerating delegation. We're handing off tasks and even some forms of cognition to these advanced machines.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think the core challenge is balancing the huge, undeniable productivity gains you can get from autonomous tools like Atlas or training hubs like Google Skills.
Right.
Balancing that with the necessary vigilance. You have to stay aware and protect yourself against these new complex vulnerabilities like prompt injection. It's a trade-off.
Okay, here's a final provocative thought to leave you with. VJPA proves that machines can model the physical world with near-perfect accuracy, seemingly without needing language or human-style consciousness. So if our digital world, our shopping, our travel booking, our communications is becoming increasingly managed by autonomous agents like Atlas, what happens when that machine's world model starts dictating our economic and digital reality? And, maybe more profoundly, what is left for human cognition to truly master?
That is certainly a question worth contemplating as we move deeper into this age of AI agency. A big one.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the latest, really tectonic shifts in AI. You've been listening to Le Podcast de Philippe.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this analysis and want more like it, please do help us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers, and maybe share our podcast with others who might find it interesting. Until next time, keep diving deep.